Welcome to World Information HD, the place where knowledge meets discovery. In today's video, we're diving into the world of rare American coins as we reveal the top 10 most valuable rare USA Lincoln pennies worth millions. These tiny pieces of copper may look ordinary, but some of them carry hidden treasures that could change your life overnight. Stay tuned, you might just find out that a fortune could be hiding in your pocket change. Today, we are about to explore the incredible story of a coin that most people overlook, a coin that may appear as just a tiny copper piece of pocket change but can actually be worth thousands of dollars if you know what to look for. I'm talking about the 1977 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. When you think of a penny, chances are you imagine something so common and ordinary that you barely pay attention to it. In fact, millions of us have probably tossed pennies into jars, drawers, or piggy banks without a second thought. But what if I told you that within those seemingly ordinary coins could lie a hidden treasure? What if that penny you have could change your financial life in an instant? That's the fascinating reality we'll uncover in this deep dive into the world of the 1977 penny. The year 1977 was a time of cultural change in the United States. Star Wars had just been released, Jimmy Carter had become president, and inflation was affecting the economy in ways that touched everyday lives. And yet, in the middle of all these events, the U.S. Mint was quietly striking millions of Lincoln pennies, coins that would one day become the subject of great intrigue for collectors. Let's begin by understanding what makes this coin stand out. The 1977 penny without a mint mark was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. For decades, Philadelphia produced billions of coins, often without including a mint mark at all. This means that when you see a penny dated 1977 without any letter beneath the date, it is indeed from Philadelphia. At first glance, this coin may seem ordinary, but its hidden value lies in its condition, rarity of high grades, and the sheer demand from passionate collectors. Think about the design for a moment. On the obverse side, we see Abraham Lincoln's bust, a design that had already been in use since 1909. Created by Victor David Brenner to honor the centennial of Lincoln's birth. The reverse shows the majestic Lincoln Memorial, a feature that had replaced the wheat ears design back in 1959. The memorial reverse was meant to represent strength, unity, and national pride. But what makes the 1977 penny so captivating isn't just its design. It's the story of how some of these coins, depending on their preservation, have transformed from a humble cent into a collector's dream. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of these coins in 1977. To the untrained eye, every penny looks the same. But here's where things become fascinating. Not all pennies survive the test of time equally. Most are worn, scratched, dented, or corroded from circulation. Only a tiny fraction remain in pristine, uncirculated condition. These flawless survivors are the ones that catch the attention of collectors and drive prices through the roof at auctions. Now, here's the part that most people don't realize. The 1977 no-mint mark penny is not rare in the sense of overall mintage numbers. It is rare in terms of condition. Imagine searching through tens of thousands of pennies just to find one that still has its original luster, sharp details, and absolutely no signs of wear. That's the thrill of coin collecting, discovering beauty in the smallest details that most people ignore. Collectors and grading companies place incredible emphasis on the quality of these coins. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with mint state 70 representing absolute perfection. Very few coins ever achieve this level, and when they do, their prices skyrocket. For the 1977 penny, examples that approach mint state perfection are extremely desirable and can bring in sums that are almost unthinkable for such a small denomination. Picture this: a tiny coin that was once just 1 cent in value is suddenly worth hundreds, even thousands, because it has been preserved like a time capsule. That's why coin collectors treasure these pieces. It's not about the face value but about history, condition, and rarity all combined into one small artifact. But let's go deeper into the story. The copper composition of the 1977 penny also plays an important role. Up until 1982, pennies were struck from a bronze alloy made up of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This gave them a distinctive reddish-brown glow when freshly minted. After 1982, the composition changed to copper-plated zinc, making older bronze pennies more desirable to collectors and scrap metal enthusiasts alike. The weight, the color, and the durability of the 1977 penny connected to a bygone era of American coinage. Imagine holding one of these coins in your hand. It's not just a penny. It's a piece of history. It circulated during the Carter administration. It may have been exchanged for goods in the late 70s when gas lines stretched across the country. Or it might have sat in a child's piggy bank as America celebrated its bicentennial spirit. Every coin carries a story, and the 1977 penny is no exception. So why are collectors willing to pay so much for this coin? The answer lies in scarcity of perfection. Hundreds of millions may have been minted, but the vast majority are scratched, worn, or damaged. Only a handful remain untouched, protected from circulation, and when those coins appear at auctions, bidding wars begin. Collectors know just how rare it is to find such a coin in pristine condition. There's also a psychological thrill at play. Collectors chase after what others cannot easily obtain. The 1977 penny in mint state 67 or higher becomes a symbol of achievement for the collector. It's proof that they've acquired something that most people will never have. And the beauty of it all? You never know where such a coin might be hiding. It could be in a family change jar, inside an old coin roll, or forgotten in a dresser drawer for decades. Many stories exist of people discovering valuable coins purely by chance. Someone might open a roll of pennies from the bank, only to spot a coin that looks shinier and sharper than the rest. That's how treasures are found. And for the 1977 penny, that shiny survivor could be worth a fortune. This is why coin hunting has become so popular in recent years. Enthusiasts search through loose change, visit estate sales, and buy sealed coin rolls, all in hopes of uncovering a hidden gem. It's like treasure hunting in the modern world, with the prize being small pieces of copper that hold stories of America's past. What's also fascinating is the role that professional grading plays in determining a coin's value. Two pennies from 1977 might look nearly identical to the untrained eye, but once they're sent to grading companies like PCGS or NGC, one might come back as mint state 64 and another as mint state 67. That tiny difference in grade can mean the difference between a coin being worth just a few dollars or being worth thousands. Precision matters in numismatics. And here's where you, the viewer, come into the picture. If you've ever handled a 1977 penny and thought it looked a little shinier, sharper, or more detailed than the rest, don't dismiss it. That coin could be a hidden treasure waiting to be recognized. Stash it safely, get it evaluated, and who knows, you might be holding something far more valuable than you ever imagined. Now let's bring this story full circle. The 1977 penny, a coin most people consider ordinary, has a hidden side that reveals just how extraordinary it can be. From its copper composition to its sharp strike and its survival in pristine condition, it embodies the essence of why coin collecting is such a rewarding pursuit. And of course, the burning question on everyone's mind, just how much can one of these coins be worth? While most 1977 pennies are only worth their face value, the finest examples, graded at the highest levels, have stunned the collecting community with their results at auction. One such coin reached an impressive sale price of $19,938. So the next time you see a penny lying around, don't just brush it aside. Take a closer look. You never know if it might be one of the rarest survivors from 1977, a tiny copper coin with a story to tell and a hidden value that could take your breath away. Welcome back to World Information HD, the place where history, mystery, and money all come together. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into one of the most fascinating coins hiding in plain sight, something you've probably walked past, spent without a second thought, or maybe even tossed in a jar by the bedside. It's none other than the 1980 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. Now, you might be thinking, what makes a coin from the 1980s so special? Isn't that pretty modern compared to those rare, centuries-old pieces we often talk about? Well, here's the shocking truth. Some modern coins, yes, even pennies from your pocket change, can be worth far more than their face value. And when I say far more, I mean thousands of dollars. So before you dismiss that little copper-colored coin jingling around in your pocket, stick with me. Because by the end of this video, you might just find yourself searching through every coin jar, wallet, and drawer in your house. Let's begin with the basics. The Lincoln cent, designed by Victor David Brenner, has been in circulation since 1909. It was created to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. Unlike other coins of the era, which often featured symbols like eagles, wreaths, or allegorical figures, this coin broke tradition. It placed a real historical figure, Lincoln himself, right at the center. This bold choice made the Lincoln cent a cultural and historical landmark, and it has remained one of the most iconic coins in American history ever since. By 1980, the Lincoln penny was already 7 decades old, and it had gone through several changes. From its original wheat reverse design to the Lincoln Memorial design introduced in 1959, the penny had become one of the most common coins in circulation. Billions were being produced every year. And yet, in this sea of mass production, some coins stand apart, and those special few become treasures. Now, let's talk about what no mint mark actually means. In the United States, coins are produced at several different minting facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, and more recently, West Point. Each of these facilities typically places its own tiny mint mark on coins to identify where they were struck. For example, a D indicates Denver, an S indicates San Francisco, and a W indicates West Point. But here's the interesting twist: coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint often don't carry any mint mark at all. That's right. If you look at a Lincoln penny from 1980 and you don't see a little D or S under the date, it's not necessarily an error. It just means it was struck at Philadelphia. However, not every Philadelphia penny is valuable. What makes the 1980 no mint mark penny fascinating is the combination of its history, its condition, and its demand among collectors. Imagine this: billions of pennies were struck in 1980. Most of them went straight into circulation, tossed into cash registers, handed out as change, and eventually worn down by decades of use. Very few survived in pristine, untouched condition. And when it comes to coin collecting, condition is everything. Let me paint the picture. Picture 2 pennies side by side. One has scratches, dings, and the copper has dulled into a brownish tone. That coin? It's worth 1 cent, maybe a tiny bit more to someone who collects for fun. But now, picture the second penny. Its luster is sharp and bright, the design details are crisp, and Lincoln's portrait looks as if it was struck yesterday. That penny can bring serious money in the collector's market. And here's where it gets exciting. The 1980 no mint mark penny has turned up at auctions and in private sales, fetching incredible prices when in high grades. Why? Because collectors crave perfection. They want coins that not only survived but look almost flawless despite being more than 40 years old. Another layer of intrigue comes from error coins. You see, during the minting process, things don't always go perfectly. Sometimes dies crack, blanks misalign, or details get struck twice. These minting errors can turn an ordinary penny into something extraordinary. For example, a 1980 penny with an off-center strike, a double die error, or unusual markings can command a premium. Collectors love these oddities because they're rare, they tell a story, and they break the monotony of mass production. But even without dramatic errors, the 1980 no mint mark penny has a following. It sits at the intersection of being old enough to feel nostalgic, but not so old that it's out of reach for everyday collectors. Many people born in the late 1970s or early 1980s want to own coins from their birth years, and this demand helps drive up the value of well-preserved examples. Let's take a step back and appreciate the design itself. The obverse side shows Lincoln in profile, facing right, with the word Liberty to the left and the date, 1980, clearly visible. Above him, the words, "In God We Trust," remind us of the national motto. On the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial dominates the design, complete with its iconic pillars. And here's a fun fact: if you look closely at the reverse under magnification, you can actually see a tiny depiction of the statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial. That level of detail is remarkable for a 1-cent coin. Now, while most of us may pass these coins without a second glance, numismatists, those who seriously study and collect coins, see a treasure trove of possibilities. For them, every coin tells a story about its time. And the year 1980 was an interesting time in America. The economy was shifting, inflation was a constant concern, and even the metal content of coins was being reconsidered. Just 2 years later, in 1982, the U.S. Mint would change the penny's composition from mostly copper to a copper-plated zinc core, because the rising cost of copper made it too expensive to continue making pennies the old way. That means the 1980 Lincoln penny is one of the last pennies made with the traditional copper composition, 95% copper and 5% zinc. This alone gives it historical weight. It's not just a coin, it's a symbol of the end of an era. And that adds to its appeal for collectors. So let's put this all together. We have a coin struck in Philadelphia, with no mint mark, billions produced, but only a handful surviving in pristine condition. We have a design that ties back to one of the nation's greatest presidents. We have historical context, the last years of the true copper penny. We have the possibility of error coins making certain examples even rarer. And we have nostalgia, with collectors seeking coins from their own lifetimes. All these factors combine to make the 1980 no mint mark penny much more than a simple cent. But here's the real kicker. If you happen to stumble upon one of these pennies in exceptional condition, untouched by time, and preserved to near perfection, you might just have something extraordinary in your hands. Imagine picking up a penny, the lowest denomination of U.S. currency, and discovering that it's worth more than some people's monthly salary. Think about that for a moment. A coin that most people overlook, a coin that has been spent, lost, and forgotten countless times, could secretly hold a fortune. And the best part? Anyone could find one. It doesn't require buying gold, it doesn't require investing in stocks, it just requires a little curiosity and a sharp eye. So the next time you're handed change at the grocery store, or you empty that old coffee can of pennies that's been sitting in the kitchen for decades, take a moment to look closely. Because hidden among those ordinary coins, there just might be a 1980 no mint mark penny that could change your day, or maybe even your life. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. Just how much can a 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny be worth if it's in the right condition, carefully graded, and sought after by collectors? Brace yourself, because one of these remarkable coins has reached the astonishing value of $18,489. In the world of coin collecting, few treasures capture the attention of enthusiasts quite like the Lincoln 1-cent penny. It may be small in size, but its legacy is monumental. Today, we turn our focus to a very specific and fascinating coin, the 1981 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny from the United States of America. This unassuming little coin has stories of history, rarity, and value tied to it, making it one of the most exciting pieces to ever pass through the hands of collectors. Let us take a long journey back to understand why this penny matters so much, why it has become one of the more desirable finds in modern coinage, and why it might even be hiding in plain sight inside a jar of coins in someone's home. The year was 1981. And America was at a turning point. Ronald Reagan had just entered the presidency. The nation was coming out of a decade filled with challenges, and industries across the country were shifting rapidly. Coins, though often overlooked, tell stories of these times in subtle but powerful ways. For decades, the Lincoln cent had been one of the most familiar coins in circulation. From store counters to schoolyards, millions of Americans handled them daily without ever thinking twice about their designs, their composition, or their origins. The Lincoln penny itself has a long and fascinating history. First introduced in 1909, it was created to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. For the first time in U.S. history, the face of a president was placed on a circulating coin, breaking tradition and sparking immense popularity. Over the years, the Lincoln penny would go through changes, both in its reverse design and its metal composition, but its popularity endured, making it the single most produced coin in American history. By the 1980s, the Lincoln cent had already seen several modifications. One of the biggest changes came in 1982, the year after our Focus coin was minted. That year, the U.S. Mint transitioned from pennies made primarily of copper to pennies made with a zinc core coated in copper. The reason? Rising copper prices had made it too expensive for the mint to continue producing coins with such a high copper content. But in 1981, the penny was still struck using the old standard, 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin. This means that the 1981 Lincoln cent is one of the very last, true, copper pennies, a detail that gives it both historic and collector's value. Now, let's take a closer look at the coin itself. On the obverse, or the front side, you'll see the iconic bust of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Above his head is the motto, "In God We Trust." To the left, the word, "Liberty." And to the right, the date, 1981. But what makes our coin particularly noteworthy is what's missing. Normally, pennies carry a mint mark, a small letter identifying where the coin was produced. For instance, coins made in Denver feature a D, coins from San Francisco a small S, and those struck in Philadelphia often carry no mint mark at all. In fact, that's where the uniqueness of the 1981 penny lies. Many of them were struck without a mint mark, particularly those originating from the Philadelphia Mint. While no mint mark coins are technically normal for pennies struck in Philadelphia during that time, the 1981 no mint mark Lincoln cent is still highly desirable to collectors because of its condition, its copper composition, and the fact that it marks the very end of an era. Think of it as the last wave before a tide turned. 1981 was the final full year of copper pennies, and the no mint mark varieties represent a historical moment when the mint was preparing to change over to a different material. But what makes this coin truly fascinating is not just the history, but the way collectors view it today. You see, in the coin collecting world, small details can mean everything. A slight difference in a minting process, a tiny variation in design, or even the absence of a mint mark can drastically affect the value of a coin. For the 1981 penny, collectors seek out examples that are well preserved, free of scratches and marks, and showing a sharp strike with all the details of Lincoln's bust clearly visible. The rarity factor increases dramatically when you find a coin in mint state condition, meaning it looks nearly as perfect as the day it was struck. Coins like these are graded by professional grading services on a scale of 1 to 70, with 70 representing a flawless coin. While billions of 1981 pennies were minted, only a small fraction survive today in pristine, uncirculated condition. Those are the coins that attract attention at auctions and spark bidding wars among passionate collectors. And let's not forget the role of errors. The U.S. Mint, like any institution, is not immune to mistakes, and error coins are among the most sought after in numismatic history. Some 1981 pennies may display unusual characteristics, such as doubled dies, where the design appears double due to a misalignment during production, or off-center strikes, where the image is not properly centered on the coin. Such errors are rare, but when they are found, they can command incredibly high prices. Collectors treasure these mistakes not as flaws, but as unique fingerprints of history. So why should an everyday person care about a 1981 no mint mark Lincoln penny? Because you might actually have one, and its value could be far greater than a single cent. Millions of Americans have jars, drawers, or boxes filled with old pennies, often saved without a second thought. But inside those collections, a gem could be hiding in plain sight. Imagine finding a coin from 1981 that, instead of being worth only its face value, could fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on its grade, condition, and uniqueness. The world of coin collecting is built on these discoveries. It's not always about finding a legendary rarity like a 1943 copper cent or a 1909 SVDB penny. Sometimes, it's about realizing the hidden value in coins from more recent decades. The thrill of searching through pocket change, examining the dates and details, and uncovering a coin with historical significance is what draws so many people into this fascinating hobby. And let's not overlook the educational aspect. Coins like the 1981 no mint mark penny offer us windows into the past. They remind us of the economic challenges of the early 1980s, the rising costs of materials, and the decisions the mint had to make in order to keep producing currency efficiently. They also connect us to the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln, whose portrait has graced the penny for over a century. Every time you hold a Lincoln cent, you are holding a small piece of history that ties directly back to the story of the United States. Collectors also know that patience and preservation are key. If you happen to come across a 1981 no-mint mark penny in excellent condition, the best advice is to protect it. Store it in a coin holder, avoid touching it with bare fingers, and keep it away from moisture or harsh environments. Over time, well-preserved coins only grow more valuable, especially as the number of surviving examples dwindles. Now let's talk about the market. Coin values are influenced by many factors: supply, demand, rarity, condition, and collector interest. While millions of these coins were struck, high-grade specimens are always in demand. Dealers, auction houses, and online marketplaces frequently see interest in 1981 pennies, and while not every example will bring in big money, the right ones certainly can. Stories abound of people finding rare coins in circulation and later discovering that their humble penny was worth far more than expected. It's also worth mentioning that numismatics, the study and collection of coins, is not just about money. It's about passion, history, and discovery. People who collect coins often find joy in the hunt, the research, and the community that surrounds the hobby. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a beginner who just found an unusual penny, you're part of a tradition that stretches back centuries, uniting people across the world in their appreciation for the small but powerful artifacts we call coins. So, the next time you see a penny from 1981, take a moment to look closer. Does it have a mint mark? What condition is it in? Could it be one of those valuable no-mint mark varieties that collectors prize? The difference between 1 cent and a fortune could be sitting right in your hand. And finally, we arrive at the question on everyone's mind: how much is a coin like this actually worth? The answer depends on condition, rarity, and demand, but for some of the finest 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent pennies ever discovered, collectors have been willing to pay as much as $17,777. The Lincoln cent, one of the most recognized coins in American history, has been in circulation for more than a century. Among collectors and coin enthusiasts, certain years, mint marks, and even small variations in design or striking quality can transform an ordinary copper-plated penny into a highly sought-after treasure. One such coin that has generated curiosity and excitement among collectors is the 1987 D mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, the 1987 D penny looks like any other coin you might find in your pocket change. It features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909. The reverse side, during this era, still displayed the Lincoln Memorial, an iconic image that had been introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. This design ran until 2008, making coins from this period recognizable and nostalgic for millions of Americans. But what makes the 1987 D penny stand out? Why do collectors discuss it with such fascination? And how did an ordinary coin, produced in large quantities at the Denver Mint, become one that could be worth thousands of dollars under certain conditions? To answer these questions, we need to take a journey into the history of this coin, its production, the quirks of minting, and the specific qualities that make certain examples incredibly valuable. The year 1987 was not a particularly rare one for U.S. coinage. In fact, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of pennies that year. The D mint mark just below the date on the obverse signifies that the coin was struck in Denver, Colorado. With such a massive production run, it might seem impossible for any individual coin to stand out. However, as coin collectors know, rarity isn't always about how many were minted. It's often about how many survive in exceptional condition, or whether unique minting errors occurred during production. One of the first things to understand about coins like the 1987 D penny is the role of condition. Professional coin grading services evaluate coins based on their preservation, assigning them grades from poor to mint state. A penny that has been in circulation for decades, rubbing against countless other coins, will likely show heavy wear, scratches, or discoloration. These circulated examples generally hold no more than face value. But when a coin has been carefully preserved, avoiding the usual damage and retaining its original luster, it can achieve a high grade such as mint state 65, 66, or even higher. Such coins, though technically common in mintage, become rare in quality. Collectors who focus on the 1980-70 penny often look for pristine examples with sharp details, clean surfaces, and brilliant luster. These coins represent what numismatists call gem condition. Because only a fraction of coins from each year survive in such impeccable shape, they command premium prices in the marketplace. Beyond condition, minting errors and die varieties also play a major role in a coin's desirability. A mint error occurs when something goes wrong during the production process. This can include double strikes, off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, or improperly aligned dies. Such errors can turn an ordinary penny into a unique collectible. For the 1980-70 penny, collectors have reported varieties with noticeable die cracks, striking weakness, and occasional doubling in the lettering. While not every error increases the value dramatically, unusual and dramatic errors are often in high demand. Another aspect of collecting coins like the 1980-70 penny is the story they tell about American coinage during the late 20th century. In 1982, the composition of the Lincoln cent was changed from mostly copper to a copper-plated zinc core. This was due to rising copper prices, which made it too expensive to continue minting pennies from solid copper. By 1987, all circulating pennies were produced with this new zinc composition. Collectors often note the difference between older copper cents and these newer zinc coins, as zinc pennies are more prone to damage, corrosion, and discoloration. This makes finding well-preserved 1980-70 pennies even more challenging and rewarding. It's also fascinating to consider how coins like this move through the economy. Most pennies are spent, lost, or left to tarnish in jars and drawers. Few people think twice about them. Yet among millions of ordinary coins, certain pieces carry hidden value. For collectors, the thrill lies in the discovery, imagining that a penny found in change today could be worth far more than its face value if it happens to have the right qualities. The Lincoln Cent series as a whole is a favorite among collectors because it offers so many points of interest. The long history since 1909, the changes in design and metal composition, the wide range of mint marks, and the countless varieties and errors. Within that vast series, the 1980-70 penny occupies a unique place as a relatively modern issue that still attracts attention. Many coin dealers and auction houses have handled high-grade 1980-70 pennies, with some examples certified at exceptional mint state levels. These coins tend to perform strongly at auction, as collectors compete to secure the finest known examples for their sets. The demand is driven both by the challenge of finding such coins and by the enduring appeal of the Lincoln cent as a whole. So how does one determine whether their 1980-70 penny is valuable? The first step is to examine the coin closely under good lighting. Look for details in Lincoln's hair and beard, as well as the clarity of the lettering and date. A well-struck coin with no significant marks will already stand out. Next, consider the luster, the reflective sheen that a freshly minted coin exhibits. Coins with strong luster that has not dulled with age or handling are particularly desirable. If the coin appears to be in excellent condition, it may be worth submitting to a professional grading service for evaluation. A certified grade can make a tremendous difference in a coin's market value, as it gives collectors confidence in the quality and authenticity of what they are purchasing. It is also wise to research known varieties and errors for the 1980-70 penny. While most coins are standard issues, finding a genuine error coin can increase the value substantially. Collectors often share discoveries in online forums, coin clubs, and auction catalogs, helping to build knowledge about what varieties exist and how much they are worth. Ultimately, the fascination with the 1980-70 penny lies not just in its potential monetary value, but also in the way it symbolizes the world of coin collecting itself. Every coin has a story, from the design chosen by the mint to the millions of strikes in Denver, to the journey through the hands of Americans over decades. Some coins remain ordinary, while others rise above the rest, capturing the imagination of collectors. And for those who take the time to search through rolls of coins, check their pocket change, or explore coin shows and auctions, the chance of uncovering a hidden gem is always present. That sense of discovery, turning the most ordinary object into something extraordinary, is what keeps numismatics alive and exciting. The 1987 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny is a perfect example of this phenomenon. While billions of pennies exist, only a tiny portion achieve recognition as rare, valuable, or collectible. And among those, the highest quality coins and the most unusual errors can reach impressive levels of worth. After exploring the history, minting process, condition factors, and collector interest surrounding this coin, we arrive at the most striking fact. A pristine and highly graded example of the 1987 D Lincoln penny has sold for an astonishing $13,476. In the world of coin collecting, it often seems that only the ancient or obviously rare coins hold value. Many people assume that only coins struck hundreds of years ago, or those with precious metals like silver or gold, could ever be worth anything substantial. Yet, this belief could not be further from the truth. Sometimes the simplest of coins, the ones we carry in our pockets, the ones we have tossed into jars or piggy banks without a second thought, end up surprising collectors and investors alike. Today, we take a closer look at one such coin, the 2001 No Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, it appears to be nothing special. It's small, copper-colored, and part of a design that most Americans have seen their entire lives. After all, the Lincoln penny has been one of the most common coins in circulation since it was first introduced in 1909. Most people wouldn't think twice about handing one over at a store counter, or letting one slip through the cracks of a couch cushion. But when we explore its background, its subtle variations, and the reasons collectors keep an eye out for it, the story of the 2001 penny becomes far more fascinating. To understand why any Lincoln penny might carry value, we have to step back and appreciate the history of the design itself. The Lincoln cent was first struck in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. For the first time in American coinage, a real person, not a symbol of liberty, not a figure from mythology, but a president, was placed on the coin. This marked a turning point in U.S. coin design, and over the decades, the Lincoln cent has gone through subtle changes in its reverse design and minting details. By 2001, the penny had already seen nearly a century of continuous production. That year, the design on the obverse, with Lincoln's bust, remained the same as always, while the reverse still featured the famous Lincoln Memorial, which had been introduced in 1959 to replace the earlier wheat ears design. Millions upon millions of these coins were struck in 2001 at different U.S. mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Here is where things get interesting. Coins struck at Denver carry a small D mint mark, while those made in San Francisco bear an S. But coins minted in Philadelphia, for much of the modern era, do not have a mint mark at all. Instead, they appear plain, with no letter under the date. And so, when we talk about a 2001 No Mint Mark penny, we are generally referring to coins that originated from the Philadelphia Mint. Of course, being struck at Philadelphia and lacking a mint mark does not automatically make a penny rare. After all, millions were produced. What matters most to collectors is condition, unusual errors, and striking details. This is where the potential value of the 2001 No Mint Mark penny really shines. Imagine for a moment how pennies circulate in daily life. They pass from one hand to another, get dropped on sidewalks, slide across countertops, and jingle inside cash registers. Over time, they accumulate scratches, dings, discoloration, and general wear. A penny that has been in circulation for even a few months can look tired and beat up. That's why finding a 2001 penny in pristine condition is not as simple as it sounds. The number of coins that remain uncirculated, gleaming with their original luster, is much smaller than the millions originally minted. Collectors seek out these untouched specimens because they tell a more accurate story of the mint's craftsmanship. A 2001 No Mint Mark penny in uncirculated condition, graded by professional coin grading services, can command far more than its humble face value. But condition isn't the only factor at play. Another reason that certain 2001 pennies fetch attention is the presence of minting errors. Coin errors occur when something goes slightly wrong during production. Perhaps a die misaligns, a blank planchet is improperly struck, or a doubled image appears on the coin. These accidents are relatively rare, and when they slip through quality control, they become treasures for collectors. Among 2001 pennies, enthusiasts report examples of off-center strikes, die cracks, and doubled dies. Each of these error varieties can transform a coin that would otherwise be worth a single cent into one worth dollars or even hundreds of dollars, depending on how dramatic the error is and how cleanly it is preserved. Imagine finding a penny in your change where the design is shifted noticeably to one side, leaving a blank crescent of copper showing. That's the kind of thing collectors are willing to pay for. It is also important to remember that the Lincoln penny holds sentimental and historical value that goes beyond just money. Collectors often pursue complete sets, meaning they want one penny from every year of production, covering the entire run from 1909 to the present day. To complete such a set, one cannot skip the year 2001. So even a coin that might seem common becomes a necessary piece of the larger puzzle. The cleaner and more brilliant it looks, the more desirable it becomes for someone trying to assemble a top-quality collection. Another subtle point that adds to the allure of the 2001 penny is its place in time. This was the first year of the new millennium, a symbolic turning point in history. People often attach special meaning to coins struck at the beginning of a century or millennium, treating them as souvenirs of an era. The fact that the penny remained in its Lincoln Memorial design just a few years before it would later be changed to the Lincoln Bicentennial reverses in 2009 adds even more appeal. In a way, the 2001 penny represents the last stretch of an old tradition before new designs came into play. Let us also not forget the human fascination with small things that grow in worth unexpectedly. There is something satisfying about taking an everyday object, one that most people disregard, and learning that it has hidden potential. The story of the 2001 no-mint mark penny taps into this sense of discovery. For a collector, finding one in high grade or with an unusual error can feel like unearthing buried treasure. Now, how does one go about identifying whether a 2001 penny has value? The first step is to look closely at its overall appearance. Does it have a sharp, clean strike, with Lincoln's features crisp and the lettering bold? Or does it look worn and tired from years of circulation? The better the detail and shine, the more likely it is to interest collectors. The second step is to look for anything unusual. Check whether the coin's image appears doubled, whether there are extra lines or cracks on the surface, or whether the design seems off-center. These little quirks could be the very things that make the coin special. The third step is to consider professional grading. Services such as PCGS or NGC can examine the coin under magnification and assign it a grade on the Sheldon scale, which ranges from poor 1 to mint state 70. A 2001 no-mint mark penny graded at mint state levels can be worlds apart in value from one that has circulated heavily. For the average person, the thought of a penny being worth more than 1 cent might sound silly at first. After all, it's just a penny. But collectors know that coins are not merely pieces of metal. They are tiny time capsules of history, artistry, and sometimes, unexpected rarity. The 2001 penny is one of those coins that prove this truth. So, if you happen to have jars of old change lying around, it might be worth your while to sift through them. That ordinary little penny at the bottom of the jar might not be so ordinary after all. And now, we come to the most exciting part of our journey. After looking at history, condition, mint errors, and collector demand, you may be wondering just how much one of these coins can actually be worth. Well, some exceptional specimens of the United States of America 2001 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny have been sold for an impressive sum. One of these coins, in outstanding condition, achieved a price of $4,599. Welcome back to World Information HD, where knowledge meets fascination and small treasures turn into extraordinary fortunes. Today, we step into the modern era of coin collecting, A world where even the smallest pieces of change in your pocket could carry a story worth far more than their face value. The spotlight of this video falls upon a seemingly ordinary coin, one you may have overlooked countless times. The United States of America 2020 No Mint Mark Lincoln 1 cent penny. At first glance, the penny is often dismissed as nothing more than a minor denomination, a coin many people ignore, drop into jars, or leave behind at store counters. Yet, behind its copper-plated surface lies a history stretching back more than a century, a legacy of design changes, minting mysteries, and collector surprises. The 2020 No Mint Mark penny stands as a testament to how even the most recent issues can hold immense interest in the coin collecting community. To truly appreciate the 2020 penny, we need to look back at the story of the Lincoln cent itself. First issued in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real person rather than an allegorical figure. Victor David Brenner's iconic design of Lincoln's bust has endured through generations, becoming one of the longest-running designs in American numismatic history. Over time, the reverse has changed, from the wheat ears in 1909, to the Lincoln Memorial in 1959, and most recently, to the Union Shield design introduced in 2010. The 2020 Lincoln cent carries that Union Shield, symbolizing Lincoln's preservation of the United States during the Civil War. The shield bears a strong vertical striping pattern with a horizontal banner, inscribed with the word 1 cent, while United States of America crowns the upper edge. On the obverse side, the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln faces right, accompanied by the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," as well as the date, 2020. When there is no mint mark below the date, it signifies that the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Now, what makes this coin fascinating is not just its design or its modern mintage, but the incredible quirks of coin collecting itself. Millions of 2020 pennies were minted, but not every coin is created equal. Collectors seek not just ordinary circulation strikes, but also coins that are rare, coins in pristine condition, or those with unusual minting errors. A simple imperfection in the striking process, a doubled die, an off-center strike, a missing element, can transform a coin from pocket change into a collector's dream. The Philadelphia Mint, responsible for the no mint mark versions of the 2020 penny, is known for producing vast numbers. With billions made, it may seem improbable that any single penny could stand out. Yet, that's the beauty of numismatics. In a sea of billions, the few that remain flawless or the handful with distinctive errors rise to become stars. Think about it this way. Imagine you hold a coin that billions of others also possess, but your coin has something slightly different. Perhaps the luster is untouched by circulation, or maybe the die used to strike it created a doubling effect on Lincoln's date. That tiny difference could mean thousands of dollars in value. Collectors all over the world scour rolls of coins, search through pocket change, and examine bank boxes hoping to uncover such gems. Another layer of intrigue comes from grading. Professional grading services such as PCGS and NGC carefully analyze coins under magnification, assigning grades based on wear, strike, and overall eye appeal. A 2020 penny graded at the highest level, like MS68 or MS69, is far rarer than the billions of average circulated examples. The higher the grade, the higher the demand, and thus the higher the value. Let's pause for a moment and imagine a scenario. You're at the grocery store, you receive a handful of change, and among those coins is a shiny 2020 penny. At first glance, it seems ordinary, but something about its sharp details and bright luster catches your attention. You put it aside, send it for grading, and later discover that this very coin is one of the finest known examples in existence. What was once worth 1 cent is now a treasure worth thousands. That is the kind of story collectors dream about, and it has happened more often than you might think. We should also remember that coins tell the story of a nation. The 2020 Lincoln cent does not exist in isolation, it represents a moment in time. The year 2020 is unforgettable in American history, marked by global challenges and events that reshaped society. Coins minted in that year carry a special significance, not just as currency but as artifacts of a turbulent era. For collectors, owning a coin from 2020 is not only about its metal and grade, it's about holding a piece of history from a year that will never be forgotten. What about errors specifically tied to 2020 no-mint mark pennies? Reports from collectors have highlighted several varieties worth noting. Some coins exhibit doubled dies on the obverse, where Lincoln's eye or the date shows a doubling effect under magnification. Others have been found with off-center strikes, where the image is noticeably shifted, leaving blank areas of the planchet visible. Still others display die chips or cracks, little raised blobs of metal that result from imperfections in the die used to strike the coin. These anomalies may seem small, but to a collector, they can be the difference between a penny worth face value and a penny worth hundreds, or even thousands. It's also fascinating to think about how coins travel. A penny minted in Philadelphia could journey across the entire country, passing through countless hands before finally landing in a collector's possession. Each scratch, each mark, tells part of that journey. But when a coin escapes circulation, remaining pristine from the moment of minting, its story becomes different. It becomes a survivor, a flawless reminder of the mint's craftsmanship. Collectors often speak of the thrill of the hunt. Searching through rolls of 2020 pennies, hoping to find that one shining example, is not just a hobby, it's a passion. The excitement builds with each coin examined, and the discovery of an error or high-grade specimen can feel like uncovering buried treasure. This thrill is what keeps the world of coin collecting alive and vibrant. The value of the 2020 no-mint mark penny also illustrates a deeper truth about money itself. Coins are designed to represent value, but their true worth often lies beyond the number stamped upon them. They are art, history, and rarity combined into one small circle of metal. While billions of pennies pass unnoticed, the exceptional ones remind us that even the humblest of objects can possess extraordinary significance. In the grand story of American coinage, the Lincoln cent is one of the most enduring chapters, and the 2020 no-mint mark penny is a continuation of that tale. It carries forward over a century of tradition, standing as both a functional piece of money and a collectible item of intrigue. For those who collect, study, and treasure these coins, each penny is not just copper and zinc, it is a connection to history, artistry, and sometimes, a surprising fortune. Now, as we draw closer to the heart of this story, let's reflect on the question that brought you here. What is the true value of a United States of America 2020 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny? Is it only worth 1 cent, destined to remain unnoticed in pocket change? Or can it be worth far, far more? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and collector demand, and yes, among the billions minted, certain extraordinary examples of this coin have indeed been sold for remarkable sums. When found in impeccable condition, preserved with brilliance, or displaying unique minting errors, the 2020 no-mint mark penny has astonished collectors at auction.so. Finally, for those who have waited patiently, the highest recorded value for this small but mighty coin is $10,828.